Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not attempt this at home. Vitiated how-to will not be responsible because you decided to be a cheap ass and not hire a professional.
On with the show.
Alright, well, here's what I used. 1/2 inch socket, 3/8 ratchet, 5/8 wrench, 3/4 inch wrench, 1/2 inch wrench, 3/8 extension, flathead screwdriver, wire brush, 3/4 socket, if you got it for your drill, the T25, T15, these are Torx. It's a T25, a T20, and a T15. Crescent wrenches, adjustable. Little socket set. You can get away with this, but you gotta have the 3/4 and the 5/8 wrench. You have to have that. Now, the torque wrench, this is a smaller one. It's a 3/8. That one there is the bigger one. It's the 1/2 inch, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna walk over here, and that's mainly my tool set right there. That's what I used. Everything else you use is optional. Oh yeah, where's those damn brushes? I set the fuckers somewhere. Well, you need some brushes like that. Or you can use the Scotch-Brite if you can get away with it. But I'm telling you, you're gonna need that and that. You've seen that. Especially if it's dirty as mine was. And a little 1/4 inch ratchet, and that's about it. Anything else you want to try to use, have at it. But that's what I used. I'm gonna pause for a minute, and I'm gonna show you that just this part of the injector system, the TBI, can be pulled off. There's 3 bolts. You got that one there, that one there, and this one here. I took them off with a T25, but I wanted you to see the location of them. Keep track of these bolts because you're going to be screwed if you ain't got them. Next, I'm going to take the connectors off the injectors. Pull this out like so. For right now, they can stay where they're going. Next thing is to pull the line off, the fuel line that's in the back there. There's one there, and there's that one there. I believe it's a 5/8 and a 3/4. 5/8. Yep, it's a 5/8 and a 3/4. Should break freely, fairly easily. They may be fuel in the line, may not be. Just depends on how you did the steps to drain it. Come on. Usually right now I got a bunch of little choice words. But because YouTube and their little crybabiness, I'm being monetized now, so there ain't a few choice words. But doing this, there's gonna be a few choice words, so I'm gonna try to refrain from it, but I can't promise anything. Because if you watch my other videos, I'm a sailor. Okay, I'm gonna start on the next one, but it's gonna take me a lot longer than normal people, so I'm gonna show you how to do it real quick, how to break it free. See, I'm going to the right. All right, I'm gonna stop the video so I can do it. All right, before I start working on this damn thing, let's move this off to the side. Let's talk about injectors for a minute. This is actually for a single barrel one, but it's also application for the dual tune port. This is what it looks like. I'm just showing you what the package, everything in the package is. We'll get more detail later. That's one. There's two of them. That comes in this package is the whole kit for the rings and everything. You got all the seals, the rings, then you have the I can't remember, it's a ring, but there's an actual name for it and I can't remember it. Copper gasket. There we go. Sorry, brain dead. Okay. Now, this here. Here's the rebuild kit for everything. Here's everything else. There are some duplicates of what's in this, but it all comes in a kit together. And some of the reviews I read, some of it were missing pieces and parts, and you know how Amazon is. But supposedly this is from AC Delco, their professional edition, which in other words made in China edition, which whatever. So there's that. And there's somewhat instructions how to do it, ballpark anyway. And then there's the spring that goes under the fuel regulator. You take this, when this comes apart, you'll see what I'm talking about. This was offered, and this was offered as well, so I bought all of it together. So that way I got everything, I ain't got no problems. So that's what I got in the packages I got. The links for everything will be in the description. Alright, I'm going to show you what I did. I'm not going to bore you with me doing it, but I'll show you what I did. Notice the gasket that's on the bottom of the throttle body of the TPI. This is from where I took my flap wheel. You got to be gentle with it because it's cast aluminum. And I went as such. And you just work your way around until you get all the gasket off. Be mindful, try not to get nothing down into there. I have it in a vise. Again, you got to remember, it's cast aluminum. So you open the vise and you just barely put enough pressure on it. If you crank it down too hard, like I normally would, you're going to crack the throttle body. And then you're going to be screwed. And then you're going to be mad that I didn't tell you. But I told you. So I'm going to get back to grinding this and I'll start it again. Now that I got this all nice and clean, all this was a, I don't know, some kind of fiber gasket. Next thing I'm going to do is take all these out. Take the injectors, take the fuel control out. It's not a T25, that's for damn sure. So it looks more like a T20. T20 it is. Set that in my little container to hold. Take my drill. Start taking things apart. This is a little magnetic bowl to put all my stuff in. Now remember, you don't want to put it back with this, and if it's real tight, you just got to be kind of gentle with it, pulling everything off. Be mindful as you're doing it. I'm setting, as you can see, everything I take off here, I'm kind of setting the screws off to the side because I don't know what's going to be what. If they're going to be different sizes or not. Knowing GM is one so got that. See what I tell you. Different length. All right. So the long ones go up in the top for the fuel regulator. So there's that. Now, here comes the tricky part. There's a spring under this damn thing. There's a spring in here. So you got to be careful when opening this damn thing. And there's also I forgot. Yes, no. Yep, I forgot. 3 more. I know I was forgetting something. And I just looked at this too. That sucks. Those are 15s. Oh, well, hey, that came off pretty damn easy. Well, as you can see, this came off easier than I thought it would. Turn it upside down and just kind of jiggle it around. That's all I did. Okay, before I try to clean the gasket off, I'm going to take the screws out of the fuel regulator and take it apart, so that way no particles get down into there. And I'm just going to use my flap wheel. These are a T15. You got to loosen them up with the ratchet first. And you probably have to clean all the junk out too, out of the screw holes where the torque goes. Because for some reason there was a lot of dirt and gunk in there. And as you notice, I'm separating my screws. These go to the fuel regulator. And remember, like I told you, it is spring loaded. So you better hold on to that damn thing for dear life, because it's pretty strong. $200-something thousand miles, yeah. He got his money's worth out of this damn thing. It is shot. Yeah, the spring is still pretty strong. But you can see the corrosion and everything on it, so it needs to go. That's probably part of what happened. All the rust and gunk just clogged up the injector. So, all right, now time to get the flap on. See, flap wheel does nicely. But remember, this is still a type of a sandpaper. So if you do it too hard for too long in one spot, you're going to diminish the metal. So just enough to get down there, polish a little, and move on. That one there, I'm probably going to have to scrape, but I'll give it a shot. All right. Yeah. Now, took that off, took my screwdriver. As you can see, the flappy wheel kind of took more than I wanted it to. So, find something else to use to get that off. Probably scrape it off with a screwdriver or whatever, but try not to damage it too much. Okay, now that you got all the little gaskets off, there's going to be some gunk and grime around. Just take a little screwdriver, kind of hit here and there, and there'll be some up in here. Hold it there. Take your screwdriver, go around that on both sides. You don't want to mar it, you just want to go around it and get the dirt off. Or loosen it up so you can come back with the brush. And you just come back in there and hit it with the brush, your wire brush or whatever you got, Scotch-Brite. I didn't get none, I forgot, so I'm using the wire brush, which kind of works out better for me, I think, in the long run. See, as you can tell, keep going back to it. When you're cleaning up around this or around that, try to keep it at an angle so that way you ain't got too much gunk going in here or coming into this. You're going to blow it out when you're done, but still. Now look over everything, make sure you got the gunk out. Looks like I do. You don't need glasses, but I think it's okay. All right, once more over with the brush. For good measure. And all that's from what I did before I started the video. Well, somebody walked off with my blowgun, so we're back to, I'm using some electronic dust and line remover, lint remover. Alright, now that you got that took care of and clean and everything, put it up somewhere to where it's not going to get gunk all over it again. Alright, now I've started on the fuel bowl, the fuel regulator bowl. Took it apart, gloves on. Got some starter fluid. This is the bottom of the fuel regulator bowl. It was inside there. It's gunked up and there was a lot more stuff in there, so I'm just throwing it in there for now. And I got out most I could, so now I'm going to try to clean it some more with the starter fluid. You use starter fluid, brake cleaner, blinker fluid if you can find it. Just do the best you can, get all that lacquer out of there that you can get, and the rust and everything else. And as you can see, it's getting darker and darker. And I got all I can get. So now I'm gonna let both of them sit in there until I'm done doing what I'm doing. And there's that. Oh man. All right, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull these injectors out. If you notice, right here on the edge, there's a little lip. Take your flathead screwdriver and something to pry with, to pry on. Take and hold it down like so, and just pop it right out the seal. Same thing on the other side. You just pull it right out just like that. Next thing you know, look at all that garbage, man. Somebody been running the gas way too low on this. That's the reason why I'm having to pull all these, is because somebody decided to drive on E an awful lot. So in return, created problems. Okay, now that we got that out the way and all that's garbage, come back in here with my little brush. We step back over here. Get my little brush. Get up inside there a little bit. Try to get what you can of the rust up in there. Little known fact that most people don't understand or know. Rust is a cancer. And if it's there, all it takes is a little piece to start the virus, if you will. And it can take and spread across metal real quick. And especially with all the ethanol gas that they have in there now, especially down here in the South, they're using way more than 10%. That's why the gas prices are up so high. They want to make more money. And you can tell by the fuel economy too. Taking clean in, trying to get what I can. The gasket came off easy. Polish that up. Make sure there ain't a gasket on this. Because you got the gasket off the other piece. Now all you gotta do is just kind of play with that a little bit. I'm gonna tap it with the flap. Now I'm gonna repeat this again because I used the grinder. That flap wheel is still sandpaper, and some parts of this throttle body, the aluminum is so soft that it will take it away. So you use that at your own risk, and this video is entertainment, so whatever happens, it's kind of your fault for being a cheap ass, not hiring a professional to do it. So let's get back to what we're doing. Okay. Looks like I got everything. Okay, that there I was just trying to clean it up and make sure there wasn't nothing wrong with it or anything. The bottom part here, there was a Y gasket here. You've got to get this gasket off. And all the dirt and grime. I'll use my grinder washer. Now everything else is going to have to be brushed. Unless you got a little Dremel, which I do. And for me to get all that garbage out, it's just easier for me to clean it with this. It's so much easier to do it this way. Takes a little longer, but hey. Pull up a tiny little brush. Spray. Look at it, see what it looks good or not. So now you get the idea. All right, so I'm putting this back together. My new spring, the bowl for the fuel regulator, and the diaphragm for the fuel regulator. Okay, that little piece that came out, you put it back the way it was. Spring goes back in like such. And the diaphragm, this is the bottom of the diaphragm right here. That is the top. There's only one way for this to work. It goes one way. So it's kind of almost idiot proof. So you have a nipple there, nipple there, and a nipple there. So, with that being said, you align the diaphragm with the nipple. And then you take the fuel bowl, the regulator bowl, and you align it. And then you push down. It's a little easier said than done, but you're supposed to have some guide screws. Ooh, yeah, buddy. I think these are it. I'll screw them in and find out. Check that shit out. Ooh. Guide screws came with the rebuild kit. Imagine that. Alright, back to onward and forward. That other diaphragm was pretty easy. It wouldn't split like this. It didn't feel it. Okay. One in each corner. I'm using my cup. Oh, I ain't trying to advertise for nobody, but cup stand big enough to where it works. Okay, so there's the guide screw there, and you just screw it in. Screw it in by hand. Because if you haven't noticed already, all the screws for the different sections of this throttle body, they're different sizes, length, and thickness, and different thread. So one screw may go in the 4 spots, but it will not go in the other 8 or 9 spots. Okay. So I'm strong enough for now to be able to do this. So I just pushed it down. In the future I probably won't be. But today I am. So take the other screw. Do as such. Just keep hold of it. I don't know where it's at. Oh, there it is. Hand tighten. Don't torque nothing yet. Okay, now I'm doing the other two screws. Alright, now that I got all four screws in, time to pull out my torque wrench. I rented this from AutoZone for 50 bucks. You can buy one from Harbor Freight if you want. Harbor Freight was out of my way, so I didn't do it. So, since this is inch pounds, and the specs call for 21 inch pounds, so 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna set it. It's at 20 now, because that's the lowest setting. Then I'm gonna go up to 21, and then I'm gonna have at it. When you're using the torque wrench, this is your lock. So that way you can lock your handle down and nothing happens. And when you're doing this, you want to do it to where it clicks. But you don't want to hold it that far up. You want to hold it back like you're supposed to, because then it'll click like it's supposed to. Hear it? That's where it stops. Feel the little popping? Then you know that one's done. That one's done as well. And this keeps me from being He-Man and tearing shit up like I did that PCV valve. But with 250,000 miles on it, probably need to replace it. So, Yes, I should have waited this and that, but since it was in my hands, I like to do what I need to do while it's in my hands. Alright, now that I got that took care of, on to the next. Okay, now I'm going to do the injectors. Here's the housing. Before you touch the injector, make sure you clean out this housing. I did once, but I didn't go back and double check. And slide that right there. All this right here, where the O-ring's going to go, that has corrosion from where aluminum and the fuel touch. So it corrodes it. And I went to go put the O-ring on to test fit it, and needless to say what happened there. It got all nasty, and that's that. Alright, so what we're doing now is putting the brass gasket on first. That's to support the O-ring. That's going on next. There's them two. Then we gotta break out my favorite part, the lube. So I have my lube here. I have my injector. Okay, now take the O-ring, a little bit of lube. It says use engine grease or transmission fluid. I'm not too keen on the transmission fluid. So I'll use the grease. Make sure you got what you need lubed up pretty good. This next part is really important because it's not just a slam in, it's got one direction and it goes that direction. Okay, you look at your injector. There's a nipple right there. And let me find a pointer. There's a little valley right there. One side it's to the back, other side it's to the front, right there. Now this, whichever injector you put on whatever side, that said nipple, so I can be more specific, that said nipple right there has got to fit in that valley. Has to fit in that valley. Because if not, well then, you'll get the idea when you do it. That's why you always test fit everything to make sure. Okay. And you set it like so. Now you can't cram it in there like you're used to doing with lube. You gotta slowly put it in there. Gently. Kind of like the back door, if you will. If you got to, flip it around a little bit so you can look at the bottom of it to make sure you're going where you need to go. Because it gets a little tricky and you're going to feel it push. So now it didn't seat right, so we got to do it again because it didn't do the way it was supposed to do. For whatever reason. These gaskets, the O-rings are kind of funny sometimes, the way they are. Might be a little too big than what it's supposed to be. So then you just go back around it, a flat object, and just kind of tuck it in there. Not too hard, but so that it belongs there. And then you try again. Son of a bitch. There we go. Little this, little that, little this, little that. Same thing with the other one. These O-rings seem to be a little bigger than what they're supposed to be. So you just might have to be forcibly about it. Get your other injector out. I bet that's what the son of a bitch. I just figured something out. And that's what they were talking about. Okay, we're still going. Next one, do the same thing. Make sure you align the nipple where it belongs, whether it's forward or in the rear. Make sure the rear is lubricated. You got it positioned correctly, and you just push until you hear like a little pop, and then there you go. The injectors are in. Alright, now we're ready to put the fuel regulator housing back on top of the injectors. Get your gasket out, and yes, if you bought the same ones that I bought, same injectors, you've got a whole entire kit for one side, plus a bunch of other little extra stuff here and there and everywhere else. But don't count on that, because sometimes that kit, the other kit, might not have everything you need. So that's why I went ahead and bought that, because other stuff was missing. So put that gasket like so. Took my other gasket, put it like so there. And you put it on correctly. And if you paid attention to how I did it, 3 screws and the 5 screws. It says in the instruction manual that you're supposed to put thread lock on there. I'm not. You can if you want. I've just had bad experience with thread lock with small things, because this is aluminum. And the one that they call for, the 262, It's like 200 foot-pounds of breakage of shear force or something like that. And I'm not taking that chance. Because if this don't work, then I'm going to have to get back in there and fix something. So, I'm not sweating it. If you want to do it and you're very confident about what you've just done, have at it. That's all you. Me, I'm not doing it. If you watched any of my other videos, it'll tell you why. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There's going to be some extra parts to your kit. The big one, because it's for two different styles. I think it's the pre-90s and the 90s. So there's going to be a few extra things here and there, so don't freak out. Alright, now that I got all the screws in there, as you can see, get my torque wrench back out and adjust my torque wrench. To 28. That's what the directions say. So that's what I'm gonna do. So all 8 of these screws get 28. Just for reference, it's a T20. In case you forgot. That one. That one. That one. Okay. Now, I had to go get my screws for this. The fuel meter body. That is this. This is the gasket for it. It's a little wide. Put on it like so. It's not the straightest in the world, but it'll work. Now you can see it a little better. This also gets 28 inch-pounds. To set it on, it's real simple. You got a nipple. That nipple must set in that space. That nipple must set in that space. So you just make sure the gasket's lined up real good, and then voila. Make sure you got the right screws. Now, I am putting thread locker because of what these are. Those other ones are smaller. This here is a little bit bigger. I'm using a really small thread locker. So if you're unsure what you need, I'm not telling you. Because I don't know if this is even right, but it's what I'm doing. And putting these type of gaskets on, you got to do evenly. So you put a little bit of pressure one side, and you go around like you're putting a tire on. Go to the other one, do the same thing. Do it till it's snug. Now you work your way up. Around to the next one. Does it really matter which one you do first? I don't believe so. The instructions didn't say either way, so I don't believe so. If there does, I'm sure some know-it-all just want to say something in the comments. They always do. So you just take your time with it. Don't get in a hurry. Just got to remember, this is aluminum. And you can shear the thread. Okay, there's that. Now, when you use an extension, this is important because using an extension will give you more torque. So you got to be mindful about using extension, because I have to use the extension in the back one. So you got to be mindful about that because you get more torque out of it being tall. Okay. The other two I don't need it, so I'm not taking a chance. Ooh, I got that one first time. Now in my 20s, I'd have probably broke this and had to go get one from the junkyard. Because I was 235 pounds, I was benching 350, and I was curling 290. So yeah, I'd have broke this. Now I'm lucky to pick up a gallon of milk. Well, so far so good. There you have it. It's put back together. Now we get to find out if it works. All right. Now we're putting the fuel nipples back on. I want you to look at them. They are totally two different sizes. This is kind of like a plug and play kind of thing. If you look at these, only one's going in one spot. It ain't going in the other one. So, you put the big one in the big one, and the little one in the little one. I do suggest you do this before you put it on the intake, because if not, you're really going to be fighting. Unless you didn't take the whole throttle body off and you just took that off. If you just took the injector pod off, then that's get you to see what everything looks like, because you're going to have to put it back together, back on the engine. Oh wait, what do I see? Wow, looky there, that is ancient. Made in the USA. Wow, they actually made something here. That's amazing. These fuel inlets, nipples, whatever you want to call them, the torque on these is 21 foot-pounds. So if you can do it, that's fine. If you can't, that's also fine. I just happen to have one, so I'm using it. Because I don't want to over-tighten them, and I don't want to under-tighten them either. I'm doing this all over again. God damn it. And just when I said I was being funny about being strong, weak, point taken.